All right. Okay, so here's how it's going to work today. We're going to craft our dream timetable. And the first thing I want you to do is to put away all of your students. Let's just pack them up, no matter how many you have. Put them in a box for me. All of them inside. For me, it's all 70 students. They go inside. Not personally. I have other teachers who work here, if you're not familiar. Put them in a box. And let's put them just on the shelves over there. Okay? So pack them away. This is not about them. This is not about what would work for them. This is about what works for you. And you need to set them aside so that you can craft this ideal timetable. And hopefully, if we get a chance, our ideal calendar as well. And really make it the ideal. Not the, this is, the best I can do with my situation. No. What would the ideal be for you and the other things in your life? So we are going to consider, if you look after your kid on Monday, okay, so you're not going to work on Monday. Those things still matter, but your students' preferences do not, just for now. Okay? Because if you know what your ideal teaching timetable is, you can start to move in the right direction. You can steer the ship towards where you want to go. But if you don't lay out what you would like it to look like, you are never going to get there just by chance. So we're going to lay it out together on my screen. We're going to do the whole process. And you can do this along with me right now, or watch it back again after you've seen the whole process and do it along with me then. We're going to go from scratch. So this is our Google Sheet. Just zoom out actually a little bit so you can see the full thing. This is our Google Sheet, and I have done nothing. All I have done is name it Our Dream Timetable, and that's it. Okay, so it's a Google Sheet. If you prefer like Microsoft spreadsheets, whatever, doesn't matter, won't make any difference. The next thing I'm going to do is label this down here, the year. So I'm talking about the academic year 23 to 24. Can you believe it's 23 to 24? It's shocking, right? Okay, here's my next step. Up here, I'm going to make this one a little bit more narrow. And in the second row of the first column, I'm going to write the start time of when the earliest time it is that we start teaching. So here it's 3 p.m. But if you start at 2 or 1, and that's what you want to do, you should start at that time. Okay? So I'm going to write 3 p.m. So 3. Actually, sorry, let's do it 24-hour clock. And then in the next row, I'm going to write 5 past that hour. Okay? With me so far? 5-minute increments is what we're aiming for. Now, here's the first caveat. If you only teach 30-minute lessons and 60-minute lessons, or 30s and 40s and 60s, then you only need 10-minute increments. You don't necessarily need the 5s. I need them because we have some 45-minute situations. So if you're with me and you need the 5-minute increments, stick with this. If you only need 10s, just change this to 10 and your whole thing is going to be easier to look at, honestly. But we're going to go with 5, okay? So if I select these two, which what I did there was click on this one and hold Shift on my keyboard and click on this one. Then in Google Sheets, if you see this little circle here, I just click on that and I drag down and it'll follow that pattern. So see how it's gone up to 20 to 5. I'm going to say we want to stop at 6:30. Again, this day can be as long or as short as you like and as you know you want to do. So 6:30 is the stopping time I've picked. Now I'm going to select everything here and I'm going to change the font just because it bothers me. Okay? This is personal. It's going to be Roboto condensed. Reason it bothers me is I'm just used to looking at that font. Also, it's, as it suggests, condensed, so it takes up less space. Okay, and then I'm going to select all my rows, again holding down Shift on my keyboard. And just make them a little bit shorter. Okay, so now my 3 p.m. to 6:30 is fitting in like that. Okay, The reason I did that rather than zoom out is just because then we still have the same font size. So hopefully you can kind of see. I know it might be a little bit tricky because it is small, but it's going to have to be small if we're going to fit everything in. Okay, so now I'm going to just select this row by clicking on the 44 over here. And I'm going to make it dark gray. I'm going to talk through each sort of technical step as clearly as I can. If there's anything that's unclear or I gloss over, please let me know that I should go more slowly or clarify something. Up the top here, for our column sort of headers, we're going to write the days of the week that we want to teach at all, okay? So if you don't teach on Mondays like me, you would start with Tuesday, Wednesday, and again, we can do the same trick, I think. I think Google's smart enough for that. Yeah? Okay, now if you do teach on Saturday, your hours might be different. I'll just show you this in case it's relevant to you. Because it is to us. So I'm going to put Saturday instead here. And I'm going to make this column narrow like our time one. And set it to the Saturday times. So let's say it's 10 a.m. is when we start on Saturday. 10:05, and then as late as we want to go on Saturday. Okay, so that's about relevant to us for Saturday. So we're stopping at 1:30 there. Okay, this is not actually what we do in my studio. I'm just basing it roughly on that to give you an idea. So let me know again if anything is unclear. But this is what it is so far. I'm just going to change these to a color so we can kind of track where we're going. And we are going to view, freeze one row. So that if we do need to zoom in and zoom out, this will scroll with us. Okay. Right. Here's our next step. So we've got 5-minute increments down here. We've got 5-minute increments for a different time down here. And you could have like for every day 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then a break and then 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Whatever hours you tend to teach. Again, at all. Now, if there's certain parts of that you don't want to teach, but you want to leave the rest there, you would just block them out. So let's say you have a Pilates class on Tuesdays at 4:30. And you want to attend that, and it takes you an hour in total. So I'd select all of those, and I'd just make them the darkest grey to say, nope, that's Pilates, right? Or whatever it is for you. Next, we're going to put in our lessons to see what we can fit in. Again, this is all an ideal. It doesn't matter what your students' preferences are, what you know about them. Let's set up an ideal so that you know where you're going. All right. So what I like to do is I like to merge some cells. So every cell is worth 5 minutes. So 2, 4, 6 cells is a 30-minute block. And I go up here to the little merge one. Merge those together. And because I do buddy lessons, I'll show you what it looks like for that. So I would put buddy 1 up here. And I just like it to be vertically centered. Okay. And then I'm going to make that cream. And then I'm going to copy it and put it here. But I'm going to delete the contents. So it's still another 30 minutes there. And I'm going to make that yellow. And copy this one. Put it here. And call it buddy 2. Okay. And then in this cell, I'm going to write equals. And click on this. Ampersand, quotation mark, space. I'll just write the word and for now. And space, quote, ampersand, this. So now that's going to automatically read the 2 people either side of it, right? I'm just going to go for the format and wrapping. I'm going to put wrap so that it fits inside. Okay, so that's how I lay out my buddy lessons. And it means that if I go to actually fill this in with students like Sarah and Josh, I'll be able to see that that's Sarah and Josh's time together. Okay, so that's how I do my buddy lessons. We also have regular solo lessons, regular quote-unquote solo lessons. And for my ideal timetable, I'm going to say they're all 45 minutes. Because that's what we want in our studio. So it's going to be 3, 6, 9 for 45 minutes. I'm going to merge those together. And I'm going to make it a different color to signify it's a solo lesson. We're going to do purple. And I'm just going to put solo 1 as a kind of name placeholder. Okay, so now I can easily see, okay, if I keep my Pilates class, this is all I can fit in. And maybe this isn't going to be reality for you, but you start to lay it out, you start to see what the ideal would look like so that you can, again, go in the right direction. Now, if you have unique situations to your studio, different types of lessons or whatever, let me know and I can fill them in how I would do it. And if you handle your timetable a different way, let me know whether this looks like it makes sense to you or whether you're like, nah, I would find this difficult to follow in a sheet like this. Let me know. But this is what works for me because of those 5-minute increments, so that if I then put George in here later, and then I can move him around really easily, right? Okay, so then let's say on Wednesday, we start with a solo lesson and another solo lesson. And then we're going to have 2 more buddies. Now I have a rule in my studio that there has to be a break of at least 15 minutes every 2 hours or 4 students, whichever comes first. So if I go and put this right here, well, let's look at it. It's 4 students, okay? But we're talking about 3 p.m. to 5:30. That's 2.5. No, 3 p.m. to 6, excuse me. So that's 3 hours. So that is not okay. So I know that needs to be moved to have a 15-minute break minimum in there. And again, with my breaks, I make them this dark gray color to say, nah, don't touch that. So at the moment, we're finishing on our ideal timetable at 6:15, which is very civilized, because that's just kind of how things shake out. Now, if I thought, no, in my ideal, I really want to fit in more students than this, then maybe I consider starting earlier, finishing later, right? So that's basically how we do it. Now, the point of laying all this out in the ideal is, again, so that you can get a sense of where you want to go. I'd love to know as well in the chat whether you've done this before. And if you haven't, please try it. Go through the exercise, because you can start to tot them up. So let's just say we want to do the same thing every day, okay? Oh, I started that later. Let's say we want to do the same thing every day. And then on Saturdays, we just want to have buddy students and then a 15-minute break and then a mini musicians class. So for that, I do 2, 4, 6, 8, because they're 40 minutes in my studio. Merge those together. So mini musicians. Personally, I would leave a break then again directly after mini musicians, just because there's usually tidy up time. Okay, so maybe that's what our ideal schedule looks like. And now we start to see, okay, how many students is that? Is that realistic or no? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 buddy students, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 solo students. And then we got 2 midi musicians classes. So we start to see, okay, is teaching from 3 p.m. to 6:30 on Tuesday to Friday and 10 to 1:30 on a Saturday, is that enough? Do I feel like it's enough students? And more importantly than that, work out how much money it is. Is it enough for you? And when you're thinking about, is it enough for me, think about how much it is over the whole year, taking into account the fact that some weeks you don't have any students. Maybe you take the summer off or you have a reduced schedule, right? So don't just say, is that enough to me for me week to week? Is it enough for me when I make it out over the year and see whether that feels like enough, right? And if it's not, you need to question things. You need to say, okay, so am I charging too little? Do I need to teach more groups? Different types of lessons? Do I need to teach more hours? So many teachers just default to, well, then I just need to fit in as many students as possible. And that's not always the right answer. Maybe you need to raise your fees. Maybe you need to consider different lesson formats. It's not always about fitting more students in. Okay, so that's one example of what this exercise can look like. Now let's look at the calendar situation. Because I was speaking with someone recently who is taking no time off. And it makes my heart hurt, honestly. You need to take some time off. Now, you don't have to take the whole summer off teaching like I do or whatever. You can do what makes sense for you. But if you don't lay it out in advance, you're just going to week be saying to yourself, I feel okay to teach, so I'll just do it. Even if you had kind of intended to take the week of Thanksgiving off or whatever. So that's what we're going to address now. Now, the thing about our calendar, I'm going to show you how I created this first of all. So in Google Sheets, you can go to File, New, and then from Template Gallery. And you'll see an annual calendar somewhere around here. Now, what a lot of us need in this hemisphere is not an annual calendar. It's a academic year calendar. And so therefore, we're going to just combine a couple of things, okay? So I don't need any of these months for what we're doing. So I'm just going to delete these. Oh, well, we won't waste time deleting them all. Okay. But we'll leave them there for now, but you can just delete all of those. What I am going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, the year one. Okay. And then I'm just going to copy this section. So from July through to December, like this. I'm going to copy all of this. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go to Edit, Paste Special, and then Values Only. I'm doing that because those did I select them all? Let's just try that again just in case I mess that up. Copy that. Paste Special, Values Only. I'm doing that because those are actually, because it's this like dynamic calendar, those are actually formulae. They're not, it doesn't just say 3, that's a formula. So by doing that, it now just says 4. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to the year here, the original one, and change this, click on this cell, and just write 2024. And all of this will change. You see that? So it's a magic calendar. And I'm going to select from January down to June. And then go to my copied sheet. I'm going to click where it says July here. And again, I'm going to go to Edit and Paste Values Only. I'm just going to delete this now that we don't need it. That's annoying me. Okay, so now we have an annual calendar that goes from July through to June, which is what makes sense for most of us. Some of us can just skip July. I do that. And the start of my calendar actually just starts, and the one I give to parents, it starts like that, and I just delete both of these. But that's up to you. For the purpose of this exercise, which is not really for parents, it's for you, I suggest keeping all the months. And let's go through and put in the weeks that you're off completely. Okay? So you may want to follow a school calendar and have some deviations from it or whatever, or just entirely follow the school calendar. I know many of you are dealing with like an area where one school does one thing and another school does another thing. So you need to make these choices. So what you're going to do is, anyway, choose the dates that you're going to be off completely from teaching and just mark them in. Make this clear. Let's actually change all of this from being teal to just white. And then the text is black. Okay, make it look a bit simpler. Okay, so we've got July and August off, let's say. Maybe you don't, maybe you do, whatever you want to do. Let's make those grey. And when's our next break? Well, for me, it's in October. For you, maybe it's November. Whenever it is, just mark it in. And then maybe you have a winter break. Mine starts midweek, so it kind of looks like this. And then it continues like that. Isn't that awkward? That's kind of what tends to happen in Ireland, something like that. This isn't precise to this year, I'm just giving you an idea. And then we have a midterm break. Maybe you have fewer breaks than this. But I want you to mark them in and say, I am going to be off during these weeks. And maybe you want to have a separate color coding system where you say, okay, this is going to stay light gray because it's a week off teaching, but I'm still going to do office admin because we know we do work outside teaching, right? So maybe this is a working non-teaching week. And let's make those, I don't know, blue. And then the ones that are, I'm not working at all, you leave those gray. So you have a system of saying, when am I actually going to be off? It's like saying going out, right? Off. And those are going to be blue and the others are going to be grey. So it's up to you when those dates are, but you need to decide, otherwise fate, chance, will decide for you, right? Okay, so we've got our dream timetable and our dream calendar, and it took us 20 minutes, about 20 minutes to create that from scratch. I didn't do anything in advance. Now I know there'll be some thinking time and stuff like that. So if you're to do this yourself, maybe it takes you like half an hour to an hour. That is 1000% worth it. It really, really is. Because if you lay this out and stick to it, have an intention that's written out, and if you're someone who really has trouble with boundaries, maybe print it out and give it to someone in your life who can say to you, hey, weren't you supposed to be off this week? Or how are you going with working towards your dream timetable and taking Fridays off, or whatever you set that you want to do, right? For me, just writing something out is enough commitment to myself because I'm sort of just like that. But for you, maybe it's not, and that's fine. Go and find someone who will help you commit to it, or find a way to commit yourself to it. It doesn't mean that you are going to look at that dream timetable for the next year and then not take any students who don't fit perfectly inside it. But it does give you an intention of, this is what it would look like if everything was going as planned. And then when you get kind of close to it, you're like, whoa, this does feel good. Or, oh, I was wrong about this. This is too little for me. Or this is too much for me. Honestly, I'll be real with you, this academic year, was the first time when I thought, oh, this is pretty close to what it should be. This feels pretty much right. I'm slightly erring on the side of, maybe I could take 1 or 2 more students. And I haven't been in that position in a long time. I've been, maxed out in terms of the schedule. Careful to have enough breaks, but not feeling like I could handle it other students' needs. Whereas now I feel like I could. I'm pretty good right now. Maybe I could take 1 or 2 more, increase my hours ever so slightly in the teaching department. But with everything else I do, I have to be cautious about that. This year is when I finally hit pretty much what I wanted to. And that's after years of laying these out. But I was gradually getting there little by little. The year before this, last academic year, I'm going to get so confused now, 21 to 22. I was close, but I still had to cave in and put some students on Mondays, even though I was sure that was the year I was going to get rid of Mondays. And then a situation happened and I decided, no, it's worth it to change this. So I did have a couple of students on Mondays, and then I managed that goal this year. And now I'm completely off on Mondays and I don't work at all. At all. It's amazing. I was telling this story actually to, by the way, if you have any general questions, I'm happy to take them about anything. But I'll just tell you a little story in the meantime. So I was telling this to some teachers at the MTNA conference that I was just at, where I was having this conversation with one of my brothers. And my brother is in sort of arts, writing, comedy space. And I was telling him like, oh, I have Mondays off now. It's amazing. And he was like, so you're working how many days a week? And I said, 5. It's great. And he just laughed at me and he said, okay, everyone else I talk to is working to get down to 4 or get down from 4 to 3 days a week of work. And you're congratulating yourself for getting down to 5. And we just thought it was funny. But I was saying to the other teachers at the conference, like, if that had been a room of teachers, they would have been saying, wait, you don't work at all? Like, you don't check your emails or... And no, I don't. So I'm pretty happy with myself. And it feels like a really good balance. But if you are not there right now, my heart goes out to you. It's not forever. You know, we commit to a certain timetable. And in my mind, at least, we commit to it for an academic year to the best of our abilities. But each summer should be a reset button. And that's when you get to rejiggle things, make things work, balance the finance and the money coming in versus when you would ideally like to work and how much you would ideally like to work, and make those things gel together in a way that you're happy with. But if you start now, in the dreamy month of May, with your dream studio timetable and your dream calendar, you can go so much further with that. I hope this exercise helps you. Please let me know if you have questions about it, if anything comes up for you that's surprising. It's been a game changer for me and many other teachers I know, so I hope you will try it. That's it for this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed today and that you will join me back here next week. We only have a few weeks left of the Vibrant Music Teacher Chat, our YouTube show, because we're finishing up at the end of May for the summer break from the YouTube show. That's when my schedule starts changing and it's just not sustainable to have a weekly YouTube show. So I hope you can make it for the next few weeks and make that extra effort to come along, and then we'll have the summer off and miss each other so much before we come back in September. Having said that, I will see you back here next week, same time, same place. Hope you have a great one.